All right, everybody. Are you able to hear me clearly and see my screen now? All right. All right. So, hi, everyone. Should we start today? Hi, Christine. Hi, Deepak. Who is CVR 112? Okay. Who is CVR 112? Um, Hi, Deepak. Hi, Dhire. Hi, Hank. Hi, Harsh. Hi, Jayaprakash. Hi, Leeladhar. Hi, Madhu. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Pankaj. Hi, Rana. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Shashi. Hi, Shwan. All right. Are you able to hear me clearly? Great. Let's start. I'm not able to figure out who is CVR 112. Yeah. Okay. Let me pause the screen sharing for a moment. And all right. All right. So let's start our discussion today. Yesterday, we ran our pig Latin script with a very basic understanding of what exactly is pig. All right. So we'll go through the basics of pig. And if you are inclined for details about pig, then we have shared the big data Hadoop session, previous session recordings that you can go through and understand in deep. Okay, because in this course we'll just be covering the basics of pig so that you know what exactly it is and when to use what. Okay, that's what is expected out of understanding of pig in this session. All right. So like any other language, it also has data type like integer, long, float, double, char array, and byte array. And there are complex data types. And let's take a look at the way you load data. Okay. The most easiest one is the one which we have used. Okay, we may or may not specify the name of columns. This is the most important aspect of pig, that you don't have to specify the column names, not even the data type. So it's all optional, and pig tries to infer all this information as much as it can. Okay, so by default, tab is the separator in the data, and you can give absolute or relative URL of the HDFS file. If you are loading some data which is, say, comma separated, you may want to use pig storage. Okay, you could say that using pig storage, comma, or let's say your data is separated by semicolon or say dash. In that case, you could use pig storage. Okay. Also, you could load multiple files using this way by using a wildcard character. Also, you could load the data from HBase storage using HBase storage. Meaning, if there is a file that you need to process, and that file is it's not a file, it's a table in HBase. In that case, you could use HBase storage. All right. Next is that you could optionally make it more clear to pick that, hey, we are having these 4 columns. Along with that, we are having the data types. We know the data types. For this one, we don't know the data types. Okay, so this is the way you can specify the columns. You can specify the columns as well as the data type of everyone. Right? So this is the basic form of loading the data from HDFS. All right. Next, you could also load data which is in the format of JSON, all right, using a third-party library called JSON Loader. Okay, I have given a reference here. All right. So Ajan is not able to hear me. Is everybody able to hear me? Okay. So let me message him. Okay. All right. So I've sent him the message, and this question is char array similar to string data type? Yes, it is the string data type, right? Now, if you want to save the data in the file or in a table, you could use storage. Okay, you could use store the data set into either the file or maybe the HBase table. And then in case you want to save in HBase table, you will say store dataset into my table using table storage. Okay. Was my video visible so far? Oh, okay. This I did not realize. All right. Okay. So, all right. If you want to see it on the screen, you could use dump, or you want to save it in the file, you could use store. And the other important operator is for each. If you want to kind of select few columns out of a data set or modify the columns out of a data set, you could use for each. It is called projection. It is called projection. So essentially, you could do whatever the select statement could do in SQL. All right. Okay. So the for each can refer to a column by, if you want to refer to a column and you haven't given it a name, you can use the dollar, and the references are 0 based. So $1 means second column, $0 means first column. All right. Okay. So we have talked basically about so far load, store, okay, load, store for each, and that's it. All right. Anuja's question is, can you please explain yesterday's last slide again? Now it makes sense to go back and explain it again. All right. So what we did yesterday was we said divs equals to load this. We first defined divs as something that represents this file. Okay. And afterwards we said group divs by ticker. If we did not have this section, then we could use something like $1. Okay, $1, because, or we could even still use $1. The second column is ticker. Okay, so that's how you refer to columns. So this particular data set is representing grouped divs. All right, Anuja. And afterwards, we went over the data set called GRPD. And for each record, because every record in the GRPD is the group, okay? And then we said for each record, generate group and the average of the value. And afterwards, once we got the average, then we saved it into HDFS. And then we took a look at what does it look like. And this is the file that gets created. All right. All right. So question from Dheer is data type optional while using load? Yes, data type as well as the column names are optional. Okay. This question is, does file store in local file system or HDFS? By default, whenever you interact with file system inside Pig, it interacts with HDFS. Okay, there is a local mode called pig-x local. That one interacts only with the file system, local file system. A question from Leela, what's the difference between generate group and the group? So generate is a statement which is a part of for each, while group is the name of a column. When you group a data set, it generates a column name called group. All right, you could take a look at it and then you'll get an idea. Yes, so the default storage is HDFS. All right. Okay, question from Hank is 5 arguments in the raw table, but 4 columns only. Yes, yesterday there was a question, what if we define 5 columns, but there are only 4? What happens to the 5th column? The answer was it remains blank. Okay, was able to answer Hari and Hank? Great. So we talked about how to load data, how to store and dump, then how to uh, go over all the records and generate, or you can say project the records. All right. And if let's say you are using this particular statement, let's try to use this one because it's very important. So for you, you can open the console. Let me open the console. All right, let me also open the console so that All right. So not this one. We have to go to. All right. Describe prices. Okay. So we have said that in the previous statement, what we did was we defined this. Prices equals load this data set as these many columns. This data set contains these many columns. Okay. Now we could basically, let's say we just want to compute the close minus open kind of values for each stock. Okay. Also, let's take a look at prices. So what we did just now, we first loaded prices and then we printed prices. Okay, we said dump, and that process is going on. So you can see that there's so much of data being printed. So it has got so many columns. Okay, these many columns. Now let us say we want to compute this value minus this value. Okay, so let's say gain equals for each, what was the name of the data set? Prices generate 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Generate $4 minus $3. Okay, and then we could say dump gain, and you could see that. All right. Okay, so it has computed the delta. Okay, a question from Sabanand is that can I connect pig to RDBMS? Okay, so theoretically yes, but I haven't seen the storage representing RDBMS yet. All right, theoretically yes, it can connect to RDBMS. This question is, I read somewhere pig is a data flow language. What does it mean? It means that it helps us. So every statement represents kind of a data flow. Okay, you load the data, then you do certain translation, then you do certain other translation. Therefore, it looks like it is basically data flowing top down. All right, but you don't do not confuse it with streaming language or any such thing. Yeah. A question from Anuja is that even div.value can be specified as $3. You can specify that as $1. Okay. When you group certain values, what happens is that all the values for that column come into play. I'll show you this. Let us say we are trying to compute the average value for this symbol. Okay, average high. So what we will do is we will say, okay, GRP equals group, group, group prices by, let's say, high. Sorry, prices by symbol. Okay, symbol. Correct? Now, if you say describe GRP, how many columns does it have? It has 2 columns. One is called group. This is the by default defined one, and other is called prices. Okay, there are now 2 columns. One is called group and other is called prices. Okay, and now when we iterate over this, okay, we can so you can see this means that this second column is a collection of records for each symbol. All right, and then what we do is we basically, when we say uh, result equals for each grp generate, let's say we are saying give me the first column called group. Okay, second column is of course prices, but we are saying what was the function name? avg prices dot what's the name of the column that we want to compute the, it was high, right? So now let me reiterate. So when you group a data set, what it does is it generates the data set that contains only two columns. First column is called group, group, and second column is called the actual data set name. Okay, after you grouped prices, the second column is called prices, and then the prices is nothing but collection of lot of records, right? That's what happens when you group the data in, let's say you group the emails by subject line, the resultant will be subject and collection of all the emails under that subject, correct? So that's what happens when you group something. Okay, so while we are saying for each, we are essentially converting this collection of records into a single value by using average function. This is our aggregate function. Okay, so if I say dump result, it should give me the, what does it say? Okay, result equals for each. Let me just see what happens. What's wrong? Okay, so function is, yeah, that's right. Thank you, Dheer. So you have to have capital ABG, that's the name of the function. As I was describing, that although the language is case insensitive, it's just the function is to be, function has to be the, okay. I hope my screen is visible. Till the last line? Okay, okay. Thank you, Dheer. Let me try to take it out. Okay, and make it a little smaller screen. That'll make more sense. All right, I think this will look better. Yes? Okay, thank you. You should have. Okay, so we were just going through the average function. All right, so we could say dump result, and we will get the average of all the highs. Okay. All right, there are a few questions which I have skipped so far. Let me. Anuja's question is it compulsory to mention any aggregate function in for each? Not really. You don't necessarily mention the aggregate function. we are mentioning because we wanted to compute average. Okay, and all right. So Hank's point is that I need big language commands and syntax rules. Okay. So I would strongly recommend that you go through if you really want to learn Pig Latin, then go through my complete video from the other class, because here I might have to, you know, cut it short, because we are going to deal with data cleaning in detail using Spark. Okay. This we are doing it so that you have an idea that, okay, so that you have an idea how to do what. Okay, let me log in again. Where did it go? Yes, there it is. All right. Hank's question is, so pig is the language to rearrange the table for the requirements. So it's basically for cleaning the data. It's basically churning and cleaning the data. Whatever you could do with SQL with structured or with structured data, you could do the similar thing on semi-structured data using pig as well as structured data. All right. Not really right now. So it's not really scripting language for databases. It can churn the plain text file. It can churn other semi-structured data. All right. Now, now, as I was telling you that when we say dump, when we say dump a data set, everything related to that data set or everything on which that data set depends gets combined together, and for the whole process MapReduce processes are generated. For example, in our cases, so this is the most important part to understand. So when we said store average, okay, so when we say store or dump, the whole all of the data sets or get combined into the single process. Okay, so divs, meaning loading, grouping, for each, all of this get combined together, and MapReduce processes are executed for for these three statements. Okay, so this way this way is called the lazy loading. This way is called lazy loading, and or lazy execution, not lazy loading, lazy execution. And this method of combining multiple statements into single is called lazy execution. At the later, whenever we are executing dump or store, the process is getting executed. It's not happening immediately. This is called this is used in Spark. This is used at some more places, like in case of build and other places, that we keep on defining, and we keep on defining the data, the various steps, and all of those steps get executed in a single shot. This is very popular way of execution, specifically because it leads to optimization. All right. So I'll describe it a little bit more, because that's something eh, you will keep getting confused. Okay. So imagine that you are in a restaurant. Okay. You are okay. So in um in a restaurant, There are two waiters. Two kinds of waiters. One, as soon as you utter as soon as you uh, utter something, they run they run and get it. Okay, as soon as you say your order, okay, they run and get it. And then there are different kind of waiters. They wait for you to complete your all orders, and then they go and place the order. Okay, so which one would be your preferable one? One or two? Why is it so? Okay, okay. So if you are extremely hungry, then you may like the first one, while if you want your orders to be, more organized and more efficient way delivered, then you would like the second one. So the reason why Michelle would like the first one is because she's hungry. And okay, and if you have imagined that you and your friend have gone to the restaurant together, and you said something, and then the waiter ran and brought it, and then your friend also ordered the same thing, then it's twice time, that it's like double time consumed in the process. Okay, if both of you wanted the sandwich, they could have prepared it together and he could have brought it together. So that's why whether pig or all of these languages which we are using these days are generally towards the lazy loading. So similar way, pig, when we said this, the divs equals this, it basically picked like a patient waiter. It made a note of it that, hey, you want divs which is equivalent, which is basically loading this, and then you said, okay, there is another thing which is this, and then there is third one this. Now please get it onto my table. That's what we are doing in these four statements. All right. So that is the lazy execution way, and this is efficient because it gives us it gives us a way of stating our problem, and then it solves it for us. Okay, imagine that it had loaded this data into the memory, then memory could have overflow. This does not load this data into anywhere. It's just a note. It's just a note that uh, okay, while you store this, it is going to come in this way. All right? Is everybody clear about this? Shashi's question is, if we dump in between, then we force it to execute. Yes, the moment you say dump or store, we are asking it to run to the kitchen and get it done. Okay? We are asking it to execute. All right, great. Question from Mrityunjay is that the second method will take more memory and CPU utilization. Actually, it's not that way, because this second method in which it's just making notes. So the memory that will get consumed is to store these statements. And even no matter what kind of wizard programmer are we won't go beyond few megabytes in this script. This script will hardly take a few bytes, not even kilobytes. Okay, so these are not even 1,000 characters. All right. So when we are making our orders here to the pig, we are saying do this, do that, and so on. It's internally constructing something called directed acyclic graph. Okay, it's constructing directed acyclic graph. So when we execute something, it's going to execute all the dependencies, and that's the way. That is the way. That is the way it is executed. All right. Okay. So a question from Mrityunjay is that what is directed acyclic graph and how does it work? All right. I would love to answer this question because this is something quite, very important in the computing. Okay. Should I go ahead with describing it? All right. Okay. All right. So a directed acyclic graph is very common to the human nature. Okay, every day we use directed acyclic graph to get our work done. All right. For example, to get ready. Okay. How do I increase? Get ready for office. So this one is directed acyclic graph. Okay, we are talking about directed acyclic acyclic graph, also called DAG. All right. So Hank, DAG is a common concept used in the computing. It is not only related to the ETL. Okay, but pig is mostly related to ETL. How do you increase the size? Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, Christine. I'm trying to figure out how do you actually. Yes. Thank you, Azan. I think, yeah, thank you very much. All right. So we are talking about, yeah, we are talking about directed acyclic graph. Okay. Directed acyclic graph is more of a data structure, or you can say part of algorithms in computing. Okay. Do not phase out, do not black out because of hearing the name data structure and algorithm. It's actually a pretty simple thing. Okay, we subconsciously do it all the time in our daily routine. Let's say to get ready to the office, we need to get couple of things. One, okay, get ready, and then book the cab. And what else do we do as part of getting ready for the office? Okay, so to get ready for the office is get ready as in, okay, wear let's say wear shirt and pants. Okay, but to wear shirt and pants, or let me just put it a little more. Okay, All right. So here I'm just trying to draw a graph. All right. So you can wear the shoes and shirt parallelly if you are smart enough. And to wear shoes, before wearing shoes, you need to wear the pants, right? You cannot wear your office pants after wearing shoes. And before all of this, you might prefer to brush and so on. Okay, so something kind of order of things. So when you get ready for the office, you you do many steps, and certain things depend on the other things. Okay, and let's say here have breakfast also. Although these things which we do every day, they are they are very simple acts. But if you think about all the things you do in the morning to get ready for office, there will be a graph in which you do things. Okay, you brush, and only after brushing you I have actually, okay, brush and take bath and so on, right? So you cannot wear shoes after you have on the, I mean before wearing the pants, right? So there is a dependency, there is an order of things in which you get ready for the office. Similarly, let's say you have to get one project executed in office, so you have a dependency graph of things to do. Then first let's build the foundation, then we will build the walls, then we'll build the roof, and so on and so forth. So this graph of things, this dependency graph, this ordering graph is called directed acyclic graph. It is directed, and it is acyclic. Imagine that wearing pants depended on wearing shoes, and getting ready further depended on the, okay. So let's say, okay. So had there been a cycle in this graph, you will never get ready for the office. Had there been a cycle at any point of time, you will never be able to get to the office. Therefore, all of these kind of graphs are acyclic in nature. Okay, did I make sense to you? So this is called directed acyclic graph. All right. In a large project, whether you are preparing project plan, that's called directed acyclic graph. It is directed as in first you have to do this, then this, then this. Okay. And it does not have cycles. Okay. A depends on B, depends on C. Imagine that, you have to buy a pants. Okay. If you have to buy a pants, and to get out of home, you need pants. Therefore, you can never get out of the home. So basically, it does not have to have cycle. It should not have cycles. Otherwise, we'll never be able to achieve things. All right. Now, question from Mrityunjay is, how does it happen here? Okay, let me try to list it down. I think then it will make more sense. So we have divs. Okay, we have divs, right? In the beginning, there is divs, then there is grpd, okay, grpd, okay, in the same example, and then there is averaged, and there is store. All right. So store, we want to plot it here. All right. So there is a starting point. Okay. There is a starting point somewhere, and this edge name is load. Okay. And then once we have ready, once we have divs ready, then there is an edge here uh, which says group by dot dot dot. Okay. So this, there is a name for the edge, and here we have for each. Okay. Does it make sense? Okay. Question from Hank is, can the multiple files be joined and executed? Yes, Hank, we will cover those now. All right. All right. So this is called DAG, and when we are describing our steps, Pig in the background is making notes in the form of this graph. Okay, in the form of this mind map, is making the note of things. All right. So you will be amazed to know that all the latest tools are based on the same philosophy as Pig, whether it's Spark, whether it's TensorFlow. What is TensorFlow? TensorFlow is the deep learning algorithm, the deep learning library from Google, okay, from Google, and it's quite powerful. Okay, so TensorFlow, Spark, and Pig, all the three of them share the same philosophy of DAG and same philosophy of lazy execution. All right. A question from Hank is, it has to be sequenced, right? Yes, it has to be sequenced. Now, let us say there was another data set. Let's call it Max. Okay, Max is again, we are saying for each group, and instead of saying average, we are saying max. All right. Are you with me here? Let's say we had here, let me just try to design one more step, max. Okay, this is a very important part. So let's say we are in this way. All right, here we computed average is average, and second one is max. Now let's try to look at it, how it look. So when we say dump average, okay, dump average will not evaluate this part. Okay, so when we say dump average, only this section will get executed. This is dump average. So only the things on which average depends on will get executed. Max will not be computed at all. And when we say dump grouped, then which part will be evaluated? Anybody? When we say dump GRPD, will max and average computed? Correct. It won't. Okay. Dump prints the data on the screen. Dump and stores the data into HDFS file or HBase or whatever storage you want. And dump and store both cause the execution. All right. So when we say dump grpd, will it execute max and abgd? Correct. Correct. I think all of you have answered correctly. I meant to say, ouch, this guy is covering, is suggesting me auto completing everything. Correct. So I think everybody got a hang of what does it mean by DAG and what does it mean by lazy execution. Okay. For lazy execution to be there, it's important that we should have DAG. Okay. DAG is a data structure which helps in maintaining the priority order so that when things get executed, it becomes easier. All right. Good. Good. So we are doing pretty good with respect to this. So let's. Very good question, Pankaj. So if we say dump max in the previous diagram, in this, I think I've removed the diagram. No worries. In case we say dump max, it will execute all of the above steps. There is no way to cache the intermediate steps. All right. And these are the steps where Spark, as compared to Pig, has done a better job. And they provide this step in between. Okay, moving on. Now, as we talked about, all right, okay. So this question is, when we use dump grouped, we did not understand this part. All right, going back to the previous one. All right, let's take a look. Okay, so dump means it prints the dataset's value onto the screen. Store means it saves the data to the disk. All right, is it somewhere? Did I store it? Just a second. Just a second. I'm trying to figure out how to hide this thing. Okay, so these question is, when we use dump grab grpd grouped, we did not understand this part. So let's go back here. So let's say if we say here dump grped, okay, what would it do? It would essentially print the value of grpd, and while it prints, then it will compute all the steps required for this data set. Okay, grpd depends on divs and so on. All right, all right. Okay, a further very good question. Thank you, Dheer. Now, let's say this is what you mean, right? When we say dump grpd, so whether it's after these or before these, okay, it wouldn't make much of a difference. Why? Because grped depends only on divs, right? These two statements. So it will only execute these two parts. Great. All right. Now there's a question from Hank. Can table info facts be sorted from least to greatest value? Yes, you can do that. There is a statement called order by. That one you can use. Okay. So I'll just go through quickly with the list of functions, and that should be good enough. So you can group the items, as I have already told that when you use group by, you basically create two columns like this. Okay, so when you say group A by age, there will be two columns. First one will be given a name called group, and second one will be named as A, right? And that's it. So pay attention to these data types, and that's it. Also, you can group by multiple columns. You can group by multiple columns by separating those into the multiple columns by comma. All right. You can inverse a grouped data. Let's say you have already grouped the data based on, say, one column called name and second column called programming languages. Let's say you wanted to find out who all are good at C, who all are good at C++, and so on. So basically, instead of person, you want to group the data based on the programming language. Okay. In that case, what you'll do is you will first ungroup it, saying flatten this. Now, when you say flatten, it will form a data set like this: name, name, language name, and so on. And you can then group it further. All right. You can filter the data. You can filter the data by various conditions. Take a look at more details here. So you can say filter this data by this column greater than that column, and so on. Okay. You can order the data by one column or multiple columns. Also, you can define ascending, descending order. All right. You can find distinct values of all the columns in a data set using distinct keyword. Okay. You can join two data sets by using join. Okay. You say join a data set based on these two columns, and then second data set based on these columns. Either you could join based on a single column, like we are trying to join two data sets. One is called daily, other is called divs. Okay, and we are comparing the data set based on this column value. Okay, what does it mean by join? We bring together the records whose particular column's values are same. Here, symbol and symbol 1 have the same value. Uh, all those records having these two columns as same will come together. That's called join. Okay, if you have to do the self join, you will have to load the same data twice and then do the self join. Do the normal join, and that will be. So hence question is, Pig and Spark have the same language function? Answer is no. Spark is far more sophisticated, while Pig is a language which has a limited set of functions. While Spark relies upon the languages like Scala, Python, while Pig relies on the languages, its own Pig Latin. All right. So, all right. Yes, Pig is also open source. All right. So joins are pretty straightforward. Let's say there are two data tables, A and B. A contains two columns, ID and name. B also contains ID and name. And we are joining A and B based on ID column. Okay, so the answer we will get is one Sandeep, one Giri, one Sandeep, one Abu. All right, so this is the kind of result we will get. All right, and then you have left join just like your normal SQL joins. Do you want me to explain what does it mean by left join? Left and right join? All right. Okay. In left join, all the data from left hand side goes in the output, irrespective of whether there is a matching record from the right side. Right join is the one in which the output from the right side goes in the output, where, irrespective of whether there is some data on the left or not. All right. Full join means data from both sides would come in the output. All right. So this question is, what components do I need to learn? So whatever we are learning as part of this, you should be knowing all of this. Okay. So don't worry about, okay. But you have to pay more attention when we are learning Spark. All right. So these are good to know so that you can architect good solutions, but you will have to pay more detailed attention during Spark time. Question from Azan is, aren't some jobs more efficient than others? Which kind of job are we talking, Azan? All right. I think so. You can go through the details about Pig Latin. Yes. Some joins might be more efficient. Yes. So you can take a look at how to optimize joins in Pig. Okay. Some using replicated, parallel, and so on. They're quite much details about how to customize Pig and so on in this particular course. All right. Instead, I would love to go take you through one more example case whereby we will learn uh, how to parse the data. Okay, how to clean the data. Let me pick up what was the name. All right. All right. So Sabanan's question is, do we cover Python in details for this course? I'll be covering the Scala in this course, and Python you can learn by yourself. Okay. All right. Now, so this is my. All right. Let me log in into my console. All right, here I am. So this is my console. Instead of using the browser, I'm using SSH this time. It's just exactly same thing what we do there. All right, so let me take a good example so that all right. All right, so a little bit about problem statement. I'm trying to go, let me show you some data. All right, so let's do one exercise. I think that's a better way to learn instead of mugging up all the functionalities. So let's try to do some more exercises and that should be good. All right, let's take a look at this data set. If you go at the top level, there is a folder called data. Under this data, you will see ML 1 million. Okay, it's a data about movies, and in this you have movies.dat, in which you will find, I think, almost all the movies except for the recent ones. And in this movie, in this file, you will find the name of the movie, the genre of the movie, and so on. Like, for example, the first one is Toy Story, released in 1995, and it is animation, children's, and comedy. And then there is second one, Jumanji, and so on. Now, this is our movies data. Now let's go back. There's another data here called ratings.dat. Okay, so this ratings.dat contains the ratings of every movie provided by various users. First column is user ID. Second column is movie ID. Third column is the rating out of 5. And fourth column is a timestamp. Good? Is everybody clear about the data set? Where did my chat window disappear? Okay. So this is the data set that we are going to work with. Okay, you can look at, you go to the top level. Okay, I'll show you. When you go into the file browser, if your file browser is not opening, directly copy paste this URL. Okay, this data set is not in your home directory. This is my home directory, and since I have been working for quite some time, I have created quite a much junk in my home folder. For your folder will be fairly empty. Okay, so the data which we are talking about is at the top level. And what is top level in the Unix? The slash. Slash is the root. Inside slash, you have data folder. Inside the data folder, there's a folder called ml-1m. Okay, are you able to see these, Christine? All right, Christine, is that okay if can I make you the presenter, Dheer or Christine? Because this is an important part. Probably everybody else is also facing the similar problem. Okay. Okay. All right. Sometimes this file browser doesn't show up. Okay. That's why the confusion happens. Okay. All right. So this file is in a different format. It's in a column separated format. Now we have, let's say there is a tool which wants it to be formatted in a different way. Let's say that one wants it comma separated. Instead of double colon, let's say it wants it to be comma separated. Okay, what will you do to do this translation? Yes, thank you, Margaret. We have to actually click on this slash here. Okay, good. So everybody can see this file. So what we have to do is we have to translate it into, we have to ignore the third column, and this should get, let's say, these 4 columns. I'm just taking a case. What I want is to replace double columns by comma. Okay, and I don't want this data, or I only want these three columns. Let's say I want to translate whole of this file into something like this. Good, good. Thank you, Sabanan. Just the fact is that while loading, you can only specify a single character. Okay, you can only specify a single character. All right. So I have already written a script for this. All right. Okay. So who want to work with me on this? All right. So this is what we're going to say. We're saying load this particular file using pig storage, and we are providing colon as the separator. Okay, is this clear to everyone? And then here the important part is we are saying 0, 2, 1, 2, 4, and so on. Okay, because there are two columns over there. Therefore, when we split with single column, if this data set, if let's say I'm saying here, okay, let's say this was our data set, right? And we are splitting it based on, say, column, right? So you can see that there are two tabs, right? Therefore, the second column is empty. This is empty actually, right? And therefore, we have to skip one column because $1 would be empty, $3 would be empty, and so on, right? And then we have to just store it using pig storage with comma. Yes? All right. A restatement of our problem. The data which we got from our data source was double column separated. Now, when we wanted to, kind of build recommendation engine on the movies, the tool which we are using says that our data, the only data I can eat, it should be in the comma separated format. Therefore, we have to convert this double column separated into comma separated. Now, we loaded the data using pig storage, but pig storage only takes single character as the delimiter. Therefore, we are instead of using double colon, we are using single colon. Okay, makes sense. Shashi, Hank, Christine, Swarn, Dheeraj, and Sabanand, Jayaprakash, Margaret, Anuja, Deepak, Azan, Hank. All right. So everybody with me for so far. Let's try to run it. Okay. Let's try to see what happens when I execute this script. I went into pig and there I said, okay, it says the output directory already exists. So I'm going to delete it. Okay. So since we are splitting based on a single quote and the input data contains, we are splitting data based on single colon and our actual data is separated by double colon. Therefore, we have to skip the $1 because $1 would be empty. If you don't believe me, let me show you this part. If you say Okay. Let me say, Christine's question is, can you use load command on RD or only the actual file? Only the actual file. Whatever you want to do, so that same work can be done with for each. I think you would require for each on RD if you want to manipulate the input data. Okay, good. The other way could have been, one another way could have been that we use a function called regular expression. Okay, we loaded the whole data, and then using for each, we could parse every record. Okay, there is a regular expression matcher which will give you the columns that you want. Okay, so question here is, so yeah, the ratings folder would have been created by now. You can see that. If I say, let's say cat ratings, it will give me the records. Just that there are millions of record. It might take quite long to get everything printed. All right, these are a million ratings. So question from Dheer, is semicolon required at the end of statement? Not really, not really. You can press enter. So you can see that. Now similarly, if I say dump RD, what is RD? This is RD, right? So second column, okay? Second column is going to be empty. That's what I'm going to show you now. So question from Pankaj is, could we use this? No, actually. $3 would point to the empty, and we have skipped the first column. Try that and you'll get the answer. Okay, I'm trying to show what's there in the RD. You can see the 0th column is okay, first column is empty, second column is good, third column is empty, fourth column is good, and fifth column is empty, right? This is the example. So yes, so who all were able to execute this successfully? Yes, good. Rebecca, Deepak, Kamal, Jabrika, Swan, Venkat, Leeladhar, and so on. Okay. What kind of error are you getting there? Okay. Try putting a semicolon. Sometimes it wants semicolon. And yeah, it doesn't require semicolon after the after dump or store. I think it wants semicolon after this. Okay. So Hank's question is, what is the output? So output is being saved in my home directory under this folder called ratings. Let's take a look. If I click on home directory in my HDFS, you will see that there is a folder called ratings. Just that since I have so many directories, I will have to order this data based on the date. Okay, you can see that. So this is the file that has been created. And since there was no reducer because we did not require sorting and shuffling, there was only the mapper. and hence you have part dash m instead of part dash r. Okay, you can see the output, Hank. All right. Thank you, Sabanand. That's a good way to do that. Yes, we could do this as well. Okay, so Sabanand is suggesting that we could use this. That's correct. Yes, that's another way of, let me copy it properly. It did not get copied. Okay, so this is what Sabanand is suggesting. Yes, this is another way of doing the parsing or doing the extract and translate the data. Okay, good. So not flatten, actually we do not require flatten. Okay, we'll just require this. All right, let me see who are able to execute. So, okay, so let me see. One is Dheer. Dheer is not able to execute. Other Christine. Okay. Christine, you have to run it on pig. Okay, you're trying to run it in the cell. Like I'm here, I have to type pig, and then once pig starts on the grunt, you have to copy paste your code. Okay. Okay. Dheer, let me make you the presenter in a minute, and then let's try to see. Okay. Hank's question is, what does it mean by this? Okay, let me repeat once more. All right. So why are we doing this? So if you take a look at, if you dump RD, okay, you will get one, then say space, then this, then okay, some other number, then empty, and so on. Right? Why do we get that? Because our input data, okay, so let me pick up the actual data. Okay. All right. So this is the input data that we are trying to process, correct? And we are saying load this data separated by colon. Okay, Hank? So what does it mean? It will basically load it like this. First record is 1, then empty, and then this, then empty, then 5, and so on, right? When we load it using the column. Make sense? And then we are saying pick $0. $0 means first column, and then this one we are skipping, and then we are picking $2, skipping this $3, $4. Okay, then we are skipping rest of it. So that's what we are picking from the RD, right? Similarly for this one as well. The problem statement is that pig storage only takes single character. Therefore, when we split the data based on column, we can't split the data based on double column. Okay? Make sense, Hank? We cannot load data based on double column using pig storage because it expects it to be single character. Therefore, we are using we are using single column, and hence one of the column, the columns, first column and third column are going to be empty. Yes, first is called 0. This is 0. This is 1. This is 2, and this is 3. Right? The whole the column names start from 0. All right. So this is $0, comma $1, comma $2, comma $3, and so on. Right? Okay. Good. Good. Is everybody with me? Dheer, let me take let me take a look. Should I take a look at your screen? Should I make you the presenter? Okay. All right. How do you make somebody presenter? Okay. First, I have to stop sharing. I hope I'm recording. Yeah, I'm recording. Okay. So Dheer, can you share your screen? Okay. Enter. I got it. I got it. So there is a bug in Pig. If you don't leave space before and after equal, then there is an error. Yeah, that's a bug. Cool, cool. So it's not your fault. It's just that I too figured it out very lately after solving some people's problem. Okay. Looks like it's working now. Good. Is anybody else facing the problem? All right. Are you able to see the screen? All right, so that's pretty much I wanted to discuss on Pig. And you may ask that why do we need to separate this data by comma? Because certain tools like Moth wanted the input data to be comma separated. So again, you may ask the other question that why do we need to do all of this ETL? Okay, so the interesting part about big data or data science or machine learning and say AI, the common seen in every of these engineering as of today, the common scenario is that the maximum time goes into data cleaning. And I was amazed at the fact that even very senior data science engineers could not solve the data cleaning exercises as efficiently as an engineer could do. Okay, so that's why these data cleaning exercises are the most important aspect of any of the tooling today. Okay, data cleaning, data extraction, data transformation, all of these exercises are the only place where most of the engineering will go in an organization. Okay, these are the places where most, because The algorithms specific to machine learning, AI, deep learning, data science, all of those algorithms are something which are in a good shape already. And if they are not, then most of the data scientists will not be able to improve so much so quickly because the most of the algorithms are there for quite some time. Okay, so maximum time actually goes into data cleaning, and data cleaning is the only bottleneck for most of the engineering across the globe. Okay, when I say data cleaning, it's actually the ETL. All right, so let's take a break, and after the break, we will start with Hive. Break for 10 minutes. All right, and back by 9:40 p.m. IST. And yes, thank you, Christine. 11:10 CST. All right. So I'm back. Should we start now? All right. Let it complete 40. If you have any questions in the meantime, I can answer your questions. Let it, okay. So do you have any questions for me before we start? So now we have so far discussed a simple tool called Pigletin. So you write Pigletin, and when you execute it, meaning when you say dump or store, it produces map reduces and talks to the map reduce of Hadoop and then get the work done and store the results in the HDFS or HBase. So Piglatin makes our life relatively easier. It makes our life relatively easier and okay, all right. So okay. So Michelle's question is, what homework we should have done by now? You should have completed all the objective questions, assignments, and attempted the MapReduce exercises, which are part of the course. All right. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So I'm going to take you through very quickly through Hive, and then we are going to take a couple of exercises and solve that. Okay. The recording is on, I think. Yes. All right. Okay. So while Piglatin is fine, Piglatin is fine. Piglatin was designed to be more efficient than the SQL kind of environment, for example, Hive. Okay. So although Piglatin is maybe more efficient, but the problem with Piglatin or Pig is that there are many developers across the globe who are pretty efficient with SQL. There are many stored procedures, many SQL queries already written in SQL, and much more data is already, a lot of data is already structured in the SQL. So even though Piglatin sounds great idea, but how do you translate such amount of data, so many stored procedures in SQL query, so many applications in which SQL queries are there? How do you move them? And so many developers who are pretty expert at SQL, how do you move them to big data? Of course, Piglatin will take a lot of time for the adoption. Therefore, it was very important to get everything done using SQL, and that's why Hive was designed. Okay, that's why Hive was designed. Hive makes it possible to write SQL queries which get converted into MapReduce and get executed on Hadoop in distributed fashion. So whatever you write in Hive, select star from this table where such and such is equal to that, all of that is broken down into the MapReduce. Okay. The only thing is that we have to first create tables on top of our data, and rest will be simple SQL query. Okay. Now, we have already established the fact that writing MapReduce is similar to writing assembly code. Okay. It takes more time, more number of lines, and it's difficult to generally debug such problem. Even for experts, it takes longer it takes some time, some decent amount of time to structure their map and reduce functions in Java or any other language. So MapReduce is generally out of question when we are churning our structured data. Okay. So the main value proposition of Hive is that it's most suited for the data warehouses where relatively static data is analyzed. Okay. And fast response is not required because we all know that when we run a query, when we run MapReduce job, it takes long time. Therefore, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to. It doesn't make sense to do the things which do the jobs which require immediate response. Okay, because MapReduce by default has a certain warm-up time. It takes a certain amount of time to start the job, get it executed, get the response. Therefore, when you do not require very fast response, it's okay to get work done using Hive. Okay. So it provides a SQL-like language called Hive SQL, and it maintains metastore for metadata. It allows querying HDFS file and HBase. All right. The limitation is that in the earlier versions, record-wise updation was not possible. So even though in the recent versions of Hive, they have made it possible to alter the data, but still it's not in the production. It's not used in production too frequently. But Hive was able to generate new tables the way when we were executing Piglatin, we were able to generate new files on new data sets. Similarly, in Hive, you can always generate the tables. It's not suitable for online transaction processing, or you can say OLTP. Okay. And queries have higher latency. Hadoop being batch oriented, startup overhead for MapReduce job takes a little bit more time. It's best when large data set is maintained and mined. Okay, so OLTP means online transaction processing. All right. So Babu's question is how to execute Pig or Hive queries from a programming language. Very good question. Though Pig does not provide a way to do that, Hive provides a server, Hive server, which can be used. Okay. You can connect to Hive server using JDBC driver. All right. So there is something called Hive server, which keeps running all the time, listening to the queries from people, executing required map reduces, and returning the results. All right, so as you can see here, this is the architecture. Uh, okay, before I jump into that, let me answer here's question. Can we call pig script from other programming language? Not really, but pig library can be used in your Java code. Okay, and then using pig library, you can execute the script. Okay, so pig, instead of calling the command line or using the system command, what you can do is you can include the pig library in your Java code, and then all the pig functions, internal pig functions to compile and execute pig script can be used from your Java code. Okay. Okay, so Rana, this can be used, Hive can be used for kind of data warehouse, maintaining the larger data sets. All right. All right, so you can see that this is the standard architecture. Okay, all right, so this question is, what is user defined function in pig and how can we use? All right, good question, Dheer. So one of the courses that must have been shared with you, there you will find the details about how to create your own functions. Okay, at whenever you are in, let's say you're using pig or hive or some other language, there are chances that certain constructs are not available, right? Let's say you want to do something and those functions are not part of the language. In those cases, you have to use your own user-defined functions. All right. You can customize the library of the function by defining your own function, and that's called user-defined function. And generally, you define the UDF or user-defined function in Python or Java. All right. Take a look at the self-paced course, the one which you must have been shared with you. So that will be quite useful for you. And there'll be example projects for Hive and Pig, which contain the code of custom functions. All right. Now, coming back to the modules, which are under the umbrella of Hive, this is important, and that's why I would like to explain it peacefully. So, as we can see, although this diagram is a little older, okay, so you can see that this part is MapReduce. Okay, this part is your standard MapReduce. So you ask Hive that, hey, here is my query. This is my SQL query. Can you get execute? Can you get this query executed? This driver converts this query into MapReduce and executes it in the Hadoop. And once the results are done, it gives the results back. And this server, Hive server, keeps running all the time. Okay? This is happening inside Hive server. All right? So let's try to see. Okay, so this is generally, how do you clear all of this? Okay, so this is the model in which Hive operates. There is a Hive server which is continuously running and listening to the requests from various kinds of users, whether Hue, Qbol, command line, and so on. And this Hive server basically has a driver On every request, this driver converts the query into MapReduce, get it executed on Hadoop, and gives the results back. Okay, and there is a meta store. There is a meta store. In case of Pig, there was one thing that we noticed, and I think Christine pointed it out. What happens when you close the session? All the definitions which you defined during the lifetime of the session, that disappears, right? When you define, let's say A equals to load something, B equals to load this, group by this, group by that. If the session ends, everything else disappears, right? In case of Hive, that does not happen. If you defined a table, it remains there. Okay, if you defined a stored procedure, it remains there, which brings us to the point that where is this information stored? In case of Pig, there was only the client. In case of Pig, there was only the client, and this client was trying to convert your Piglet into MapReduce and get it done. There was no concept of a there was no concept of storing anything, persisting anything. It was just you asked it to execute, it executed, the role of Pigletin was done. In case of Hive, whatever tables you define, those tables would remain there. Therefore, the concept of a server. So Hive server keeps running and listening to your queries. And this server maintains all the metadata. What is metadata? The name of the table, name of the columns, etc. in a MySQL or Postgres or any other relational database. So this meta store keeps all the things you define in a database. Okay, that's what the meta store is. So you can log into CloudX Lab and start using Hive, or you could open Hive in the browser, here. Okay, from where do you access? You can go to Hive. And you can define your own database. The way I have defined my own database called Sandeep Giri, you can create your own database here. And how do you create? You can say either from here, you can say create database. Let me first drop my database. Drop database Sandeep Giri. It says, okay, drop table ISTARI, okay, and NYSE. And I can say create database, drop database Sandeep Giri. The tables you can see on the left hand side, or you can use show tables. Okay, you can say show databases, show databases. I think this is correct only. There was an error in my query. I think this thing is okay. I think my table is gone. All right, so if I say show databases, let me see what happens now. Yeah, because I was in a database which was not existing. This is, so this question is this MySQL like command or SQL like, server like command? So these are more or less like uh, MySQL combined with Postgres, combined with Oracle, um, combined with, so they have taken the best of all the worlds, and they have tried to keep it very much similar to the existing ones. Okay. Question from Swarn is that can we do perform all DML, DDL? DDL you can do, but DML is something that you can't do. Okay, and you will see that So you can see all the databases here. These are the list of databases which are created by other users. Since CloudX Lab is used by many users, so and since it's for educational purposes, we keep it open to all the users. Okay, so I'm defining my own database. I'm saying create database Sandeep Giri. You can also define your own database. Is everybody able to open this? You open Hue and go to Hive. Yes, everyone. Rebecca is able to do good. Deepak, Leeladhar, Babu, and good. All right. All right. So yes, good. So create your database by giving your database name instead of Sandeep Giri. That's correct, Kamal. This MySQL where metadata exists is installed on one of the nodes. Okay, so sorry. All right. So create database with your own name and okay, the database has already been created. I'll refresh the list and then select my database. Okay, there are no tables as of now. Or if we could also say use database or use Sandeep Giri. All right, good. Okay, so that was our first step to defining the database. All right, that was our first step. Now, all right, so that was our first step. Now going back to the what we were discussing. So this is how Hive looks like. We will skip this part. Instead, we will take a better example. Okay. So it also has data types. The most important to remember is that Hive has tried to consolidate all data types so that if you have already written a query for one of the databases, the same query should also run on Hive. They have tried their best to make it compatible with all kinds of scripts or all kinds of SQL engines. Okay, so these are the, so you can see the Boolean, binary, tiny int, all of these you can, and there will be a bit. So they have tried to keep the database very much, data types very much common. It also provides complex data types like PostgreSQL. We could also run Hive from console. I'll show you that. And it is just optional because I'll prefer it in the browser. So you can actually go to the console And from here, you can say Hive. It's not really required, okay? But the browser one is good enough. Okay, so this is my command prompt. From here also, you can execute the same select statement or all the functions. All right. Sashi's question is, does Hive support transaction? Quick answer is no. Okay. It hardly provides you the even methods for doing the create, update, or delete. Okay. Record-wise updation has recently started, and therefore it's not really in a great consistent shape as of now. Question from Sabanand is, after creating the database tables and load the data, will it be able to connect to any reporting server? So yes, you can say connect to Hive either using say BI tools such as BERT, or say Tableau, or say Microsoft Excel. All right. So similar to SQL tables, you could see the tables. You could go here and say, show tables. Right now there is no tables, and therefore you won't get any results. Okay. Then, all right. All right. So here, so you can execute the similar statement like describe my table, describe extended, and so on. If you want to see more information about a table, you could say describe extended my table, okay, or describe formatted. Describe formatted is a better format. All right, there are two kinds of table: managed tables or external tables. Okay, the tables which you own are the managed table. The tables which are external are called external tables. So generally, sometimes you want to load a table from third-party database or somebody else database where you don't have permission to modify it and you don't own that data. The most important part to remember, the only thing that you have to remember in these two cases, when you drop a managed table, the data gets deleted. While in case of external table, when you drop a table, the data remains. All right. So that's the story. And let me also, I think before jumping further, we should try to do an exercise. All right. Okay. So let's try to create a table. All right. So Michelle is saying that no primary keys in the table. You can define, there is no concept as such of the primary key. Okay. And because if you see the table, it's essentially kind of way to execute SQL queries instead of having a relational database. So Hive is not really a database. It's more like a querying engine, just like Pig Latin. It's more like querying engine, just that you have to define a table against which your all queries will run. Okay. All right. So let's try to do this. All right. Let me try to define this table properly. So we are saying create table, exchange this. So we are defining a table. You can see this. and let's skip the location part. And then we are saying, okay, okay, all right. I'm going to, all right, the one is this, all right. So one question is, it means we cannot set any particular constraint in Hive. That's correct. How to analyze data using Hive? We'll show you here. Okay. So let's go back to the same data set. All right. All of you, are you with me? Let's go back to that same data set. All right. Let me just pick up one of the data sets. All right. Here is the folder. So you can see that this folder contains this file called NYSE daily, and this file is actually the New York Stock Exchange high, low, and other values. Okay, so let's say we would like to churn this data. We would like to analyze this data using SQL, and let's for time being, let's assume that this data is in terabytes or gigabytes. Okay, which can't be really handled with the databases. Therefore, we would like to analyze this data using SQL. All right, using SQL, but on MapReduce. So problem statement is clear to everyone. We got some data which is in a plain text file available in HDFS. We would like to analyze this data using Hive. Okay, question from Dheer is, why would we do so? Why would we use Hive? What's the advantage? The advantage is that when the data is in petabytes, none of the databases can handle it. You are either left with using Pig Latin or MapReduce to process this data. So essentially, when the data is in petabytes, your usual tools do not work, and therefore you need the MapReduce. And since MapReduce is hard and Pig Latin is a new language, and you may not like to use that new language, so you would like to use Hive. Okay, and so all we have to do is we have to create a table over this data. We would have to create a table over this data, and that table would be kind of a window to this data. Okay, so before we proceed, I would like to copy this data. And how do you copy this data? Okay, how do you copy this data? Is there a way to do it here? If I select it here, I can say copy. Okay, I click on home and I say copy. All right, what happened to the file? Looks like I already would be having some file of this kind. Let me just delete these two folders. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the same folder. So this is the data I would like to analyze. Okay. All right. Now, let me try to copy this to my home folder so that I don't damage this data. Okay. And yes, it is now copied into my home folder. Okay. Everybody copied this file. Okay. Go to this folder. Okay. Go to this folder, select this file, click on copy. Done. Click on copy and then click on home and then okay. So click on actions, then copy, then click on home and then click on finally copy. Okay. Okay. We refresh it if it doesn't uh, load. Okay. Also, the same thing you can achieve from the command from the console by saying Hadoop fs -cp and then giving this folder name, and that should also do the job. Okay, Christine, just hold on a minute. I think your question will be answered by the end of this hands-on exercise. Okay, good, good, great. And all right, so everybody has copied this file. Yeah, you have to select NYSE Daily and click on the actions, copy, and then click on home folder, and then copy. Basically, we are trying to make a copy of this file into our home directory. Yeah. Okay, done. Great. All right. So you can see that it is here. All right. So now that we have copied the data, is anybody stuck? Need help? All right. Moving on. Now we go into the Hive interface. How do you go? Click on Hive in the query editors, and then there select the database, whatever you had created earlier. Now let's create a table here. Okay. And how do you create a table? Using this kind of definition. Okay. Using this kind of definition. Let me check if it is working fine. All right. Yes, it is created. Sorry, I have only sent to Rebecca. Okay. Here is it done? Yeah, it's a file that is copied. Oh man. Okay. Okay. No worries. No worries. We are good. Even if the file is copied, it should be good. We are just trying to copy the file, not the folder. All right, Deep. Okay, so everybody able to create this file. Create this table here, not file. As well as in the file browser, do you see this file? Okay, so when we create a table, we are just creating an empty skeleton. All right, just creating an empty skeleton. Into this table, we are saying that this table would be on the data that is tab separated. Okay, this table would be on the data that is tab separated, right? And why we have mentioned it? Because our underlying file would be in the tab separated format. All right. Now, once we have done this, Hari's question is, how do we switch to my database? First, you create your own database by saying create database, let's say Hari. Okay, that's your database. And then you refresh the list and then you will find your database. Okay, okay. Is that your database? Yeah, I can see your database now. All right, good. Now create this table, which I have earlier copy pasted in the chat window. This is an empty table. Okay, this is an empty table. And what exactly is a table in case of Hive? It's basically a representation of underlying data. And that underlying data also exists in the database. Okay, by default, when you do not provide this location, it will create in Hive's warehouse. We will see that. Okay, so we have created an empty table and we have also copied the. Okay, all right, good. Time to move on. This question is, if we have multiple statement in query window, can we execute a single statement at a time? It will execute all the statements. All right. Now, my table is created. Now let's load the data. Let's load our data. Okay. I'm going to say load data, and the name of the file is nyse underscore daily. Okay, so we are saying load data in path this. Yes, Anuja. And I'm saying nyse. All right, let me also keep it here. Sure. So, Anuja, do you need any help in this? Is something not working? Sure, I'm waiting. All right. So what we have done so far is, first we have done create database Sandeep Giri. That was my database. And then we have also copied this. Okay. Margaret, that's correct. Yes. Operation has no news. Message is good. Swan, I haven't done that. I think it executes the whole everything. I'm not sure if it executes only the selected. All right. Okay, so let's see if it works. So we have a file, this file. We want to load this file into this table. Okay. So I'm saying load data in path this file. Why we are saying this way? Because it's in my home directory. Had it been somewhere else, we could have either used absolute location or relative location. Overwrite into table NYSE. Okay, so good. Let me paste that in the chat. Thank you, Deepak. All right. Let's see. It says that error while compiling the statement, invalid invalid path. Okay, let me put the absolute location. Home Sandeep Giri 9034 NYSE daily. Okay, 9034. Okay, let's try again. No matching file. Okay, this is user, sorry. All right, replace the username with your own user. Okay, all right. So let's take a look at select top, select star from NYSE, limit 10. You are right, Swan, that only the selected lines are getting executed. Okay, so you can see that the data has been loaded. All right. Okay. All right. So again, let me repeat the step. First, we copied the data into our home folder using the file browser. We could do the same thing using the command line as well. Then we created our own database. And then we said, use this particular database. And then inside that database, we created this table. This table is having these many columns. And the important aspect here is we are saying row format is fields are delimited by tab. Delimited fields terminated by tab. Okay, /t means a tab. All right, then we are saying Hadoop FS minus CP, and then, okay, this one is already done. We don't have to do it now. And then we said this and this. Okay. Correct. Here, if you try to ingest the other random data, you will get errors while running the query. Okay, you will have to translate that data first to tab separated and then move it here. Although if your whole complete data is separated by say colon, then you should generally put it colon here. Okay, so everybody is able to select data from this table. Christine is done. Who else is done? Rebecca is done. Good. Swan is done. Brilliant. Dheer is done. Babu is done. Wonderful. So this is A very smart class, actually. Brilliant class. Good. Okay. So is anybody stuck somewhere? Okay, because there are some genuine problems like the one which Dheer has pointed earlier, that there was a bug in pig. Okay. So 90% of chances if you're stuck would be because of unknown things. And I would love to help you out with that. Okay. So Anuja, which step are you stuck? Let me call this is as a first step, then this, then this. So we copied the data once. You were able to copy the data, Anuja? Good. And then you created your database in the Hive query. Okay. And then created the table inside your database. You should be using your database. Okay. All right. All right. So Anuja, I would make you the presenter for a minute and then let's try to resolve it. Okay. Okay. So yes, you can share your screen, Anuja. Okay. That's correct. Execute the query. Yeah. Okay. So the brackets have to be round, not curly. Yeah. Now refresh that database from the left-hand side. Yeah. Now let's load the data. Use the command to load the data. Should I copy paste it? Just replace your username. Database name is not required because you are already in this and the database is already selected. Okay. So you can say load data in path slash user slash your login name space in path space single quote slash user slash your login name. slash slash capital NYSE. Thank you, Michelle. Underscore NYSE underscore daily DAILY. Yes. In into just close the single quote after that. Yeah. Into table NYSE semicolon. And in the load, can you change the spelling? It is LOAD. Okay, great. Just select this line and click on execute. Select the full line and click on execute. All right, I think you're done. Now you can say select star from in the new line, select star from NYSE. Okay, select it and click execute. All right, wonderful. It is working. Okay, so great. Now, okay, all right. So yes. So Shashi's question is the semicolon mandatory at the end of statement? Yes, it's not mandatory, just that I come from Java kind of background, so I'm like have got these bad habits of putting semicolon. So, all right, good, good, wonderful. All right, so now what we see is, although on one hand our data is in the form of the files, and if you see this table what we have created here is nothing but the metadata, the information that it has got these many columns. If you want to see the information about say table, we can say describe formatted NYSE. Okay, so you can see all the information related to the table. It has got these many column names, and the most important part here I wanted to show you is this location. Okay, this location here, this one. So actual data about the table, whatever you load into the table will go into this location of in the HDFS. Okay, I would love to show you this part. If you basically go into file browser, okay, so let me just copy paste the whole thing. Inside apps, Hive, warehouse, sandeepgiri.db, whatever database you have created, and NYSE. This is the folder in the HDFS that's created for your table. Any data you copy will be kept here. Okay, if I copy the same data again, if I load the same data again here, okay, remove this overwrite from here, then one more file will be created. Okay, all right. Yeah, one more thing, when we are loading data from HDFS, it moves the data, it does not copy the data. Okay, so it moved my previous file. If I want to load the same file again, I will have to create one more copy. Okay, so you can see that uh, whatever data you copy into this table, it has created a folder here and will keep on copying that data here. Okay, now once we have done that, we can start writing this wonderful uh, code. Okay, so let me Let me try to see what are the columns, and then we will write some good queries. Okay, now let's say we had to do the same thing what we did in case of pig. We will say select symbol 1, comma, average of, let's say, price underscore high, okay, from NYSE, group by symbol 1. Okay, just a second. Let me see what was the table which we had created. We had created price high here. Okay, from NY. So is this correct? Who can help me in fixing this query? Select symbol 1, comma, average. I doubt if semicolon is a problem. It says that expression not in group, group by key. Okay. So I'm saying select symbol 1. So if I say the columns, it has symbol 1 and price high is there. Okay, I think average is not a function. That is the problem. So AVG is a function. So now you can see that it is computing the, all right, so it has computed the average value, value of high price, and it's here. Okay, so you can do quite a wonderful job with this. Okay, all right. So Christine's question is, can you paste that? I would say that I'll give you this query with which you can find out the location of the file. Okay. All right. So you can find out the location of the file and also get to know about everything. Now here you can see that it's the same text input format that we use in the earlier MapReduce. Okay, you remember that? When we were doing MapReduce and all, so under the hood, we were using an input format. In the same way, Hive is also using the same input format. And what does it mean? It means that when we run a query, the same text file lying in this folder will be loaded using text input format, and then rest of the computation is happening. All right? So question from Dheer is, can you give alias name for a column in SQL query? Yes, you can. Okay. All right. I missed a couple of questions. I'll try to answer those. Sabanan's question is that the connection parameter for reporting? Mm, do you mean, is there a connection parameter for reporting? It provides a similar reporting as standard with MySQL Server or Oracle servers. Okay. All right. So that was a quick example of Hive. I hope everybody is with me. Is everybody with me on so far whatever we have done? Is it clear? Wonderful, wonderful. So I think the best way to learn is by doing it, and that's something we are trying hard. Because had I kept on explaining the theory, it would be more confusing. Okay, all right, wonderful. So we created a table, we loaded the data into that, and then we started doing the computation. Okay, so you can do you can try these kind of queries. Okay, you can try these kind of queries and you'll be able to do everything what you have done as part of the SQL. All right. Now, this we have already talked about, where is the data located. Also, the way we have loaded the data, we can save the data using this kind of format. We can insert the data into local directory and save it. All right. I will try to, jump a little ahead because it's not, I mean, REST is just, standard that this also has views. You can create custom functions and you can load JSON data, okay? And you can order by, sort by, and so on, okay? And all right, again, let's go back to the movie data. All right, do you remember this movie data that we had created earlier? All right, so we'll try to create our own movie data now. Okay, let me try to do it, and then you can also do the same thing. Okay, so right now I'm creating a table called u underscore data with these columns. Okay, I'm going to skip the last one. Okay, only 3 columns, and here I'm saying that my data is separated by comma. Okay, all right, so looks like the table has been created. All right, you can also try the same thing. All right, and we had created folder earlier, right, while we were dealing with pig. Okay, this one, right? Let's try to see if we can load the data into this table. Since everybody had done it earlier, so you should be able to do it now. So that's why I'm suggesting that do not skip any of the hands-on exercises, because if I'm doing something now, it'll be used later again. Okay, and there we go. So we have created a table already, and then we are trying to load the data. All right, so you can replace the login name with your own name and you will get the results. Okay, so let's try to take a look at u underscore data limit 10. All right, so we were able to do this. Now, as part of assignment for Hive, what you have to do is for each movie, you have to find out how many users have voted for it. Okay, for every movie, for each movie, how many users voted it? And for movies having more than 30 ratings, what is the average rating? All right, can you do this? So that's an assignment for you. It's like homework. So try finishing this before the next session. All right, so we have dealt with Hive in a decent enough depth that we do not have to, uh, get into every kind of detail. Okay, so if you need more details about Hive and you need it for career, take a look at our Hive course, which is there already. and I would basically try my best to keep all of you in the comfort zone of make you comfortable with every tool which we use, and that's only possible if we do more of hands-on. Okay, so I'm trying to avoid too much of theory because most of the theory is generally obvious and every one of you will anyway understand it. Okay, so yeah, problem statement is clear to everyone that for each movie, how many users have voted for it, and for movies more than 30 ratings, what is the average rating? Okay, all right, wonderful. So we have done a very good, the class has done a very good job. Yes, Michelle, the I would expect two separate queries. All right, great. So now a question from Pankaj is, where can I find the self-paced course for Hive and Pig? Are you able to see the in the notebook data my courses? Okay, this one, are you able to see this one, Pankaj? Big data and self-paced? Yeah, inside that you should be able to find. All right, so I would like to start with NoSQL now. All right, Uh, and yes. All right, okay, so in case you have no clue about SQL, you can always write that you are expert at NoSQL, and kind of most of the newer technologies are boon for the people who are trying to restart their career. So that's the kind of humor. And all right. So before we jump into NoSQL, I would love to explain to you what does it mean by horizontal and vertical scaling. So if you had a cart in which there was a single horse and suddenly you had to carry a bigger load or you had to carry more load, then you have two options. One, sell the horse, buy an elephant, or buy couple of more horses and upscale your cart. Or what you can say, you modify the cart so that you can add more horses. Okay, so when you sell your horse and buy a elephant, that's called vertical scaling. And scale up, I think it'll be easier to remember because elephant is vertically more vertically better. While if you add more horses to the cart, that's called horizontally scaling or scaling out. Same thing in the computing. Traditionally, what happens is that, and it's not new, I think everybody does it in the industry. Whenever they face bigger data or they face bigger computing, all they do is they buy a better processor, bigger RAM, and more hard disk. And that's kind of de facto. So they basically choose the option of vertical scaling. Problem with vertical scaling is that in case this elephant does not suffice to carry the load, you cannot wait for elephant to become dinosaur, right? Or you cannot keep on feeding elephant to make it really huge elephant and then pull the cart, right? Therefore, vertical scaling has got a limit, but horizontal scaling is a very powerful technique. Okay, and this the whole Jew of Hadoop is all about horizontal scaling, be it file system, be it computation, be it now the database. So far, Hive is not really a database, Pig is not really a database. They are ways of writing your anal analysis queries, writing your BI queries instead of MapReduce. So we are going to talk about something called HBase. Okay. So this is a classic story which I would love to make you understand, and it's very important to understand it. And I have lived through it at couple of times. Okay, so those who have experienced the 2002 boom, 2001 boom in the industry, everybody launching the companies, they must have been part of it. Okay, and I would agree that I was one of the persons who have gone through that, and I can recollect that I had the same issues. Okay, what I outline here. So let's say you are working for this brilliant e-commerce company, and you built a great online selling houses, online selling some books, for example. So on the initial day launch, you will move the data from your local workstation to some remotely hosted MySQL instance with well-defined schema, and everything looks so beautiful. And you made the brilliant product and people started using it. Now more and more people are using your service, and suddenly too many reads are hitting your server. That's not a big problem. We all know what to do in case your server gets too many hits. All you have to do is enable the website cache. Okay, generally we have one more machine, and we put memcached on that so that we don't have to retrieve the data again and again from the database. Instead, let it serve from this memory of memcached. Okay, so that you don't have to assemble the page again and again and just send it as prepared last time. Okay, now if you notice, this looks very beautiful. This whole cache looks like a great pattern, but it's not. It's a hack. It's a hack that suddenly made your system non-ACID compliant. What is ACID compliant? ACID is a property of database transaction in which A for atomic, C for consistent, I for isolation, D for durable. Every action has to have these properties. But if you include cache, your system is no longer consistent. Why? Because if there is a change in the data, it will take few seconds to update the cache, and during that time your cache will be serving the old data to the user. Correct? And therefore, the first thing that happened was that you lost acid properties. Now, as you go on, that's not a big deal. You told to yourself and then kept on moving. Service still kept on growing popular. And as service grew popular, there are too many writes happening. People are posting comments, people are buying things. So not a big deal, since your service is becoming popular. You got some VC money, you bought these high-end high-end database and moved the data there. Okay, have like 200 gigabyte RAM and have fastest hard drives in the market. Not a big deal. You got some money. But now, since you got money and you have beefed up your servers, you are now ready to add more features. And what kind of features? Let's say you want to enable people rating your product. You want to enable the what do you say, the variations on, let's say, on shirts, pants, on the books. And there are hundreds of features that would keep on creeping in. As the service has become popular, you have got money, you hired product managers, and they are building more and more features. Now, as you add each feature, that will essentially create one more table, right? Like subscriber to your page, there'll be one table, and so on. Now, as more and more tables are coming in, it is becoming more complex. And there are too many joins. And when there are too many joins, you have to, there's a lot of headache in assembling a single page. So you denormalize your data. Denormalize your data. And this is where I went mad long back, thinking that I have spent 1 year learning how to normalize data, and now one of my architect is saying that you have to denormalize because we have so many reads happening. Okay, and this is not something a DBA learns. DBA has learned to normalize data. So we lost consistency, we lost normalized database, and still database is popular and is getting swamped. It's too slow. So you stop doing server-side computation such as stored procedures and other things. Now, some queries are still slow, so you periodically pre-materialize and you stop joining in most cases. All right. At this point, reads are okay, but writes are getting slower and slower. So you stop dropping the secondary indexes. Okay. And you also drop all the triggers. Now what we see here is the classic study, the classic case, what happens when your server is overloaded. And what we see here is because of this overload, everything we learned as part of database is of no use to us. We no longer use secondary indexes. We don't use triggers. We don't use stored procedures. We don't use the joining. We don't use the normalization and hence primary, secondary key, and so on. So effectively, the database, as we were taught, is totally useless when there is so much of requests coming in. So for big data and many queries, the classic database was not the solution. All right, and that's where we needed new kind of database. The day Amazon faced the Black Day, on Black Friday, Amazon's servers were facing the exact same problem. They lost a lot of money. That point of time, they sat down and came up with new kind of store. And that was one of the first NoSQL stores. Okay, so this was the motivation behind NoSQLs. All right, so we'll continue from here in the next session. We are doing pretty good as a class. I'm extremely happy that everybody is able to do what we are doing. Okay, so we will continue the same spirit with more hands-on, less theory. But this theory was kind of important. That's why I had to do this. All right, so we'll continue this discussion in the next week. And please finish the quizzes, and you can take a look at the self-paced courses if you want to. Sure. Let me also update the notes. Notes will be updated in the class itself, in the class page. You can take a look. Let me also check. All right. Okay, Dheer. Bye-bye. Have a great week ahead. I'm looking forward for the next week. Sure, Anuja. Okay. Thank you, Sashi. Thank you, everyone. I look forward for the next week. All right. Yes, we will meet at the next Saturday, same time. All right. All right. Yes, it will be in the my courses, and generally the okay. So generally this we put the notes inside the classes. Let me check. Okay. So yeah, discussion notes one is here, and for every class there is going to be discussion note. Okay, let me check if yesterday's discussion notes are there. Yes, this is the one. Today's is not there right now. I forgot to share it with you. I'll update in the system. Okay. Ouch. It did not copy for some reason. Ouch. Yeah. Okay. Good. So we'll look forward to you in the next session. Okay. Bye bye. Anuja, you can wait, and we will have a discussion one on one. If anybody else wants to have one on one discussion, we can have right away. All right. Good night, Mithunjay. Bye bye. All right. Anuja, can I unmute you? Bye, Pankaj. Bye, Rana. Hi, Anuja. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. Good, good, good. So yeah, you're unmuted. Yeah, and we have stopped